Good morning or good afternoon, everyone from across the world, wherever you're tuning in from, whatever country you're tuning in from. This is our ninth Alta Labs live event. We do hold these monthly. My name is Chase Harrison. I'm the CEO, and I'm here with Jeff Hansen, our CTO, as my friendly co-host.
How's it going?
Jeff, welcome. And just a couple other housekeeping items. If you haven't ever been with us before, this is your first Alta Labs live event. These are recorded. If you're not able to make it, we do share these out on all of our social platforms after the entire live event is done. We also will open it up for a live Q&A here at the very end of our live stream. Today, our focus will be our S48 APOE. That's, as you can tell, our marketing team's done a wonderful job of putting that on our screen and branding this call to show that off. So we're excited to talk about that. But before we do, we have a couple other quick housekeeping items. As far as the Q&A is concerned, the way we handle that is by having you submit your questions directly through either the meta platforms, right, Instagram or Facebook, or through YouTube or through LinkedIn, or through X, or if you're logged into StreamYard, if you'll submit those questions, those all get aggregated up and pushed into our platform here, and we will work through those questions one by one on a first come, first serve basis. Our intention is to get through all the questions. In the event that your question gets missed, or you are watching this on a recorded basis, you're always welcome to email us at sales@alta.inc to get your questions answered. Also, we'd love to have you make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms, as well as subscribe to our newsletter. That's how we get word out for our Alta Lab live events, new product updates, new product releases, new firmware releases. Those are the best ways for you to understand what's happening in the world of Alta. So beyond that, we got a couple of announcements we'd like to share with you. First, a friendly reminder, you've got just a few more days left, the end of June, actually. We're giving away a free AP6W in return for your stories. If you will go into our forum.alta.inc, and go into the story section there, you'll see that there's already a number of new stories that have been posted. We appreciate those that have come in and posted. Those that are eligible for the AP6W, we will get those out as soon as they land here in about the next week. But if you yourself would like a free AP6W, it doesn't take much, just a couple of images, a brief description of the story posted in our stories platform, and then share that on your social media platforms, being sure to tag Alta Labs. The next announcement, we'd like to congratulate our June installer of the month out of Dubai. We have First Wi-Fi and AV Solutions. Adam, congratulations. We appreciate all that you do to support the Alta Labs brand in Dubai and the surrounding areas. If you are interested in becoming an installer of the month with Alta, the requirements are pretty simple. Just be installing Alta Labs every chance you get. Our sales team will notice that in our monthly sell-through reports with our distributors, and then be active on social media, sharing your stories, talking about Alta Labs, and you become eligible for install of the month. So again, congratulations, Adam. We will announce July once we get into July, and then obviously we have August too that we are trying to finalize. So next, we've made a couple program changes for us. First of all, for those of you who are a registered installer, part of our summit program, we've made some pretty significant improvements there. You can check that out on our website. Our marketing team will go ahead and put those links into all the various platforms right now. Thank you, Rob and Landon. But essentially what we've done is we've made some modifications there where we've removed some requirements, right, in order for you to be eligible for some of the cashback tiers or the rebate tiers. And then we've also thrown out a fantastic trip to a tropical paradise. There's an opportunity to win that, right? The more Alta you install, the more entries you get into attending our escape, right? We're going to be heading down probably into somewhere in the Caribbean. And generally that happens around March or April of the following year. So we'll be heading off in March of April or April of 2026. And really all that you have to do there is make sure you're a registered installer, follow the guidelines on the link that our marketing team has shared, and make sure you install as much Alta Labs as possible to improve your odds of winning that trip. So the next thing, driven by you, our community, our fans, we have received a lot of requests for project registration. The reason for that, right, is number one, makes us aware of big projects to make sure we have inventory allocated for your projects. Number two, there are opportunities to work with our sales team and our support team as well on that, on kind of an elevated level. And then depending on the project size and scope, our sales team is able to work out some special arrangements potentially on pricing or again product availability. So make sure you use that. Our marketing team is putting that also into our various platforms right now. You'll see the link there. You can follow that. Make sure you use that for larger projects to make sure that we are aware about them or aware of them. Also announcing our next Alta Labs live event right behind this. I'm sure we'll get some questions on this. Is our we're going to be covering our aggregation switch, which is called our S12. So be looking out for our next Alta Labs live event that will happen in July. And then 2 more quick announcements, and we'll get into what everyone's been waiting for regarding our S48. Number 1, our Redbubble partnership is officially live, and we have made the official announcement everywhere, where our merch store is online, where you can go in and buy anything that we've basically selected from a merch perspective that you can throw the Alta Labs logo on. Anywhere from hoodies to t-shirts to coffee mugs to phone holders or phone cases. We'd love to hear your feedback on what you see in there. If you like it, great. If you want to see more or different types of swag or merch, please let us know. Email us at sales@alta.inc, and we'll try and get that updated. But so far, we appreciate everyone that's gone in and participated or purchased some merch. The feedback has been positive, but we'd like more of it. So yeah, excited about that partnership. And then our marketing team is also obviously putting the link inside of all of our social platforms. So you can click into that and take a look at our merch store. And that is available globally, right? It's not just the United States, not just Europe, not just Asia. It's everywhere. So no matter where you're tuning in from, or no matter where you want to ship merch to, you can do that through that platform. And then finally, I wanted to tease a new carrier offload partnership that we have been working on. We've been working with actually a restaurant chain here in Southern Utah, one that's pretty famous if you're from the United States. The local Chick-fil-A operator, we've turned up a couple of sites with carrier offload with him, and he's been very, very happy with the passive income he's seeing per location. He's seeing in the hundreds of dollars, and he's also turning around and he's using that to the Alta Labs network, not only for his personal use inside the store, because the Chick-fil-A has some pretty strict requirements around their POS. They actually has to be 2 separate networks. So he's able to offset his costs with that network, as well as put some additional dollars right back into the store. So we're excited about that. We're developing a case study around that that we can go and take out to, other Chick-fil-A locations, as well as other, franchises, restaurants, just to show them how there's a great opportunity for some passive income using Alta Labs equipment. So if you have questions on carrier offload and how you can deploy that in your projects, again, please email sales@alta.inc, and our sales team would be happy to walk you through that process and make sure you're comfortable in how to position that with your customers. So lots of announcements today. I apologize for that, but hopefully you find that very valuable. We figure we use every opportunity we can get to share all the good news about Alta Labs. So without further ado, I'd like to turn things over to our CTO, Jeff Hansen, to talk about our S48. Jeff, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Chase. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen now. Yeah, I'm especially excited about that Alta Boost opportunity. Anybody who owns a restaurant, you can definitely, you might as well make some money on your Wi-Fi, your internet connection. And like Chase said, give your customers internet access and your employees, everybody wins. And yeah, so it's pretty exciting. So we're going to start off with the dashboard here. We announced this S48 APOE a couple months ago. The reason why we call it APOE is the A means all. So we've had feedback on our previous releases of switches. All of our other switches have had either half or most of the ports lit up with PoE. And sometimes you can get into a predicament where you need more PoE ports and you don't have them. So we wanted to make sure that you had plenty of PoE ports. So this is a 720 watt 48 port switch, and every single RJ45 port has PoE on it, PoE plus. So you can do up to 30 watts of power per port. To add the device, you just log into manage.alta.inc. You can also use our app. The great thing about these switches as well, the 48 port has a Bluetooth chip inside. So if you have multiple IPs and it's not showing up on the dashboard or something like that, all you have to be is within range of the switch using the mobile app, and you will be able to see it and configure it. So it's We've tried to remove all barriers as far as being able to add a device to a site. So we make it very easy to do. You just, it shows up in the platform and you hit the setup button over here when it shows up. So, I mean, if you've used our switches before, this should be hopefully very familiar to you. It's 48 ports, so the default window is a little bit larger. On a mobile, it'll actually break it up into 2 rows of 26 ports. You can also make it larger if you want to see all of the ports at a time. As with all of our other switches, you can also go in and you can view a whole bunch of switches. You can make your window bigger and kind of get an idea of each VLAN, for example, if you want to see which VLANs are tagged on every single port from a holistic view very quickly. You can do that using our windowed system. So it makes it very easy to manage your VLANs on all of your switches. And I mean, these switches are somewhat sparse, but they're all 48 ports. So we could definitely fill in a bunch of these with more links. But yeah, so we'll go through. So you can manage the VLANs. Let's see. So you can go into each individual port. We have, and I'm just going to go over, the features that we have that we've added over the last few months. So you can actually see which device is connected to every port. As you click onto the switch, it shows the switch name and the port name. And you can see here that there's an AP6 Pro connected to this port. You can go down. We have all the same options that we have with our other switches. So you can make each port, authenticate with 802.1x. You can make it so that it has no access to any network, any VLAN, until it's authenticated with 802.1x. That's what the strict mode is. With the standard 802.1x, what that does is it'll give you like a fallback VLAN, and then it'll switch you over to an authenticated VLAN if your device happens to be able to authenticate itself. Obviously, you can disable ports, so that's very easy. You can also mirror ports. This is typically for debugging. So if you have an issue that you're trying to track down, you can go ahead and say, I want to mirror port number 5 on this switch, and it will go ahead and anything that's coming in or out of that port 5 will show up again on this port 17, for example. So usually what you do is you hook up a laptop or some other diagnostic debug device into that port, that mirrored port, to see what's going on and see what's going on in the traffic. So used to be you had to put an old school hub in there so you could monitor all the traffic with the layer 2 and unmanaged switch, but you don't have to do that anymore with mirrored ports. So it's pretty cool. You can also combine. So this is how we do LACP. You can combine, I think we have 10 groups that you can create, 10 different groups, up to 8 ports per group. And so if you want to do redundancy or, aggregate so that you get more speed across, 2 different switches, things like that, these are all different things that you can do with LACP, which is another standard feature that's part of our switches. We have our colors feature for our switches. So you can go ahead and, let's say I want to create a profile of our switches for blue ports. So now I can make it so that any port that I've tagged as blue, and you can very easily, change a whole bunch of ports to a different color, basically applies a different profile to all of those ports. So I can go in and change all the settings. So let's say I have a bunch of ports and I want to rate limit them, download and upload. So I go ahead and change the rate limit to 5 megabits or whatever that customer is paying for. And then I can go ahead and save that, make all of those ports blue. And then anybody that's connected to those ports gets rate limited. And then, if they pay more, maybe they get more data. So yeah, you can do rate limiting. Let's see. And the colors makes it really easy to, set up a profile and apply it across a whole bunch of different ports at the same time. And then the colors are all shown here. So you can see that all these ports are black. In the UI, you can see very quickly what settings, general settings, are being applied to every single port. Let's see. So you can set up, obviously, a native VLAN. So if you want a certain port to be isolated to a specific VLAN, you just go ahead and type in the number here. So that's very easy to do. You can define which VLANs are allowed on each port. So by default, all of the VLANs are allowed, but you can actually go ahead and select none, so that, for example, this port, in this case, would only be allowed access to VLAN 150. So nothing else. So anything that comes in, it's automatically tagged at 150 as it passes through the rest of the switch. And when it comes in, it always makes sure that it's on VLAN 150. So anything that comes in from any other port on VLAN 150 would then get forwarded to this port. We have PoE on this switch. As I said, every single port has 30 watts of PoE potential. You can turn that on and off if you like. So if there's a camera or another AP or something that you want to disable for a while, you can go ahead and do that here. At some point, we'd like to be able to offer schedules to PoE so it can turn on and off on a schedule. Obviously, that's not here, but at some point, we are definitely considering that. Let's see. So speed. So you can obviously set the speed for every single port. So if for whatever reason, sometimes there's compatibility issues and auto negotiate doesn't work properly. So sometimes you have to force a speed, or let's say you have a poor cable that doesn't negotiate 100 megabits like you expect every single time. You can actually force it to 1 gig. So that's another feature that you can do on every single port. We have isolation. So if you put multiple ports into this isolation, if you enable isolation on multiple ports, the switch will actually isolate traffic between those two. It's not a feature that we usually recommend because it can get kind of sticky and hard to debug things. But, there are use cases, especially like, for example, debugging, breaking down your network to figure out if there's a problem that you can use that for. Download limit, upload limit, those are pretty self-explanatory. So you can, if you have a customer that you want to charge and give them the ability to, if they want to go into a different tier, pay more, you can do all that on a per port wired basis. All of our Alta switches support voice VLAN. So if you plug in a phone, it'll use LLDP med to figure out what VLAN it should be joining. And then the phone will automatically tag everything that comes in or out of its port for that. So that's another feature. We have loop detection on all of our switches. So not just RSTP and STP, we also have MSTP support, and that is enabled by default. You can go into the settings and choose which technology you want to use for loop detection in the system settings. So let's say I wanted to use RSTP instead. You would just go into here into the settings, site settings, and you would go ahead and change it to RSTP. But by default, the MSTP is the default because it encapsulates pretty much everything. It's backwards compatible with STP. RSTP has all those features. But if there's some reason you need to go back, you can very easily. And you can also disable loop detection on a per port basis. So let's say you're having problems, or you happen to know that there aren't any loops, you can actually turn that off on a particular port. We have storm control, so you can go through and so there's 3 different classes of storms that could happen. And usually when a storm happens, it's going to be a random packet. It's not always multicast and it's not always broadcast. It can sometimes be, a random unicast MAC address that maybe something injects a MAC address packet, a packet that has a certain MAC address that, but they're not actually responding to that. So you can have a storm created where a single device, if that packet is repeated, can take out your whole network. So there are ways to, tone that down. You can make it so that you can only allow 100 packets per second, or this is a packet per second metric. So it just uses that to see. And if it goes beyond that number of unknown unicast packets or multicast or broadcast, it will stop forwarding them on that specific port. We also have the ability to specify a bunch of different MAC addresses on a port. So if you have a device that the MAC address of, and you only want that to be able to communicate so that somebody can't swap it out and use their laptop or something like that. It's really simplistic security, but it's definitely a common feature that people want. So you can do that with that. And then we have the ability to set the different modes of flow control. So by default, flow control is off, but if you want to turn it on, you can turn it on in both directions, or TX pause or RX pause. Let's see, what other features do we have? So I want to show some other features that we've released recently. So if we go to the switch, One thing that's cool about Alta Labs switches is you can actually see what port a wired client is connected to very easily. So let's say I'm looking at this phone right here. I can see the port settings, and if I want to change the VLAN on the port that this wired device is connected to, all I have to do, I don't have to go to the switch that it's connected to. I mean, I can obviously do that as well, but if you're doing a whole bunch of these, it's more convenient to be able to change the VLAN on the wired device itself rather than having to change it on a port sometimes. So yeah, all you have to do is change the VLAN here. You can set upload rate, download rate, and it will automatically apply it to the port that this wired device is connected to. So that's a cool feature. You can go in here, you can see the temperature of the switch. You can switch between Fahrenheit, Celsius. This temperature is derived from, it's basically an average. There's a whole bunch of sensors on the switch, on the PoE chipset. And so it actually averages the temperature across all of the ports. And that's basically where it gets that number from. So you can kind of get an idea of what, how warm the switch is inside. Let's see. So you can create new VLANs. You can assign VLANs to different ports. You can manage them here. We have a legend, so you can very easily see, the VLAN that I'm looking right here at is VLAN 10, and you can see that it's available on every single port, and you can also see that it's going to be tagged. So if somebody wants to use that VLAN, they would need to make sure that their device tags that traffic going in and out of that port. You can see if PoE is active on each individual port. You can see if STP is blocking a certain port very easily. And the cool thing about Alta Labs switches too is we prioritize real-time data. So sometimes when a STP loop or some sort of loop is happening, the STP daemon goes back and forth, and it's kind of hard to nail down exactly what's going on. The cool thing about Alta Labs switches is everything's real time. So a lot of this stuff, when you're debugging or trying to figure something out, if you just watch it, you can see in real time sometimes a loop, the STP might be flickering in and out. And that's something that happens real time that you don't usually get with other vendors. So that's cool. You can see when, if you've configured a couple ports for LACP, you can see when those are enabled right here. And you can see which ports have mirroring enabled. Usually when you turn on mirroring, you're going to want to make sure that you turn that off after a period of time. Otherwise, you're going to go to plug something in and see that you don't have any data or any connection. So it's good to know, from a holistic view of the switch, what you've done there, so you can go ahead and undo it after you're done debugging. And then we also have the traffic stats, so you can see the traffic that's going on every single port. You can see what's connected there. You can also, go into the wired view of every port. I just happen to have Route 10 DPI running on this, and so I can actually see that a phone is transferring SIP data. That's coming soon. I'm sure it'll come up here soon. But that's why this port has DPI data, is because it's actually communicating over the internet through the Route 10 and generating that DPI data. Okay, so let's see. So you can see all the traffic in real time. I just power cycled that. Sorry, somebody. All right, so you can also, along with all of our other switches, we have the, you can set up a static IP address, DHCP. We have our fallback upon failure feature. So if you happen to configure the VLAN wrong or the static IP address wrong, you don't have to drive out to the site. You can it'll actually fix itself and revert back to VLAN 1 DHCP, so that you don't have to factory reset and all that, which can be pretty annoying. So yeah, cool feature there. You can change the LED. This is an RGB LED on the front panel of the switch, so you can choose any color you want there. You can enable or disable the link lights. Sometimes switches, usually, a 48 port switch is going to be in a closet typically, but let's say it's in your front room or something for whatever reason, you may not want the lights on all the time. So you can turn those off. It's very easy to add radius servers. So if you do set up a port or group of ports as 802.1x, this is how you would configure the radius server for those ports. So you use a single radius server per switch, and you set up the radius IP address, the secret, accounting server, all that, and then the authenticator would then communicate with that radius server that you set up right here. Once again, we have the temperature, and then we have the ability to move switches between sites. So, and any device works the same way. If you're setting up, staging a device on a staging site, and then you want to move it, you can do that very easily. These switches also support the zero-touch provisioning, or adding by serial number. So if you know the serial number and you want to ship it out, drop ship it to your location where you're going to install it, and then have it come up automatically, you can actually do that. You just have to have the serial number off the box. You can actually use the mobile app to scan that with the camera. You can set the priority of the entire switch. So let's say you have a hierarchy and you know that the switch is in the middle, or maybe it's the core switch. Switches try to figure that out automatically, but they don't always get it right, especially if you've got loops and things going back and forth. So if you want to force this, this kind of helps avoid STP, taking down the wrong link if you do end up having a loop on a larger network. Location is for SNMP, so all of our switches can be monitored using SNMP. And then we also have the reboot button here. So if you want to go ahead and reboot a switch, it does have to be connected to the platform, obviously, but you can go ahead and do that. All right, so I think that's a whirlwind tour of, and a lot of that is, it's typical for all of our other switches that we've had up to this point. There are some new features that we've launched since our switches launched that this, has, all those features have been grandfathered into this. We do have more features planned coming up as well. I know that we're going to get into layer 3 routing and things like that, but I'll leave that up to when we get to the Q&A. Hopefully that covers everything. Anything I missed? Chase? I think you're muted.
Did do that so often, it seems like, anymore. No, other than I've got a picture that we'd love to kind of tease. Do you have a copy of that, Jeff, or do you want me to throw it up?
I don't have a copy.
I will. I'm gonna just throw it up. I love this picture. Just kind of talks or shows off the RGB colors as well. And this is one of our test sites. Let me see if I can get this shared really quick. There she is right there. So some of you guys have seen this on our forum. Some of you have seen it in our social media platform, but we have the S48s, one of our test sites. Obviously, this is the same sites that you're seeing that Jeff is working with, right? There's 5 core switches. It's a beautiful looking switch, if I do say so myself. The Alta logo there is fully customizable, right? RGB control. Obviously, there's some default values there for boot up and power on reset, sort of thing, but what's functioning nominally, you can adjust this to whatever you want. I'm a red fan because it's a conversation starter. It's funny how many people will walk through my house or walk through our office and see a switch and say, is there a problem with that switch? Why is it red? And it's a great opportunity for me to talk about Alta Labs switches. So anyways, we're really excited about this product. As far as status update, right? Our first mass production batch will be completed middle of July, and we are air freighting those out to all of our distributors. So by the end of July, you should start seeing those show up in a channel available for your project. So if you haven't already, you can go to our distributors and get your orders placed so you make sure you're first in line, get your hands on these switches. I can stop sharing that. Also, I had a text message. I think, Jeff, you mentioned power 720 on our data sheet. We have it actually rated at 740. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep saying 720.
You're good.
It's actually 740.
No problem at all. All right. Well, Jeff, if you don't have anything else to talk about, we do have some good questions on the S48. We can start. We can kick those off.
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. Jump back up here to the top. I've been starring them. All right. First question from Texpresso. Texpresso, welcome. Thanks for being here. Can we get an idea of when we're going to see layer 3 featuring on any of the switches?
Yeah, I mean, the plan is hopefully by the end of this year in the actual UI. You can actually, exploit those features right now, but you would have to know, like it's a Realtek switch, right? So you would have to know how to use the CLI to configure that. We do have the ability to, run a one-off configuration after every time, the main management platform has configured a certain feature or setting change. You can run a shell script that goes ahead and configures using the diag command for the CLI. So, I mean, we've been trying to foster that in the community to figure out how to do that. There are some useful scripts that people have come up with, particularly on Route 10, for example. But yeah, we'd love to do something similar like that on the switches until we do have, we do want to add support for full-on layer 3 routing, DHCP proxy, things like that, layer 3 features in the actual UI as well. But yeah, probably not till the end of the year.
Great. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Texpresso. Follow-up suggestion, actually, can we get a tab in settings for colors? It would be really helpful to see a list of colors and parameters like native VLAN and allowed VLANs in one central location.
All right. I definitely, I'm trying to figure out exactly what you're asking for. I think you're asking for a colors tab specifically in the settings to kind of look over all the colors. And instead of looking at the switches and seeing the colors on the ports, looking at it the other way around. Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. We'll definitely consider it.
And one thing that's probably worth mentioning too is if you have colors tagged on a specific port or group of ports, if you go into the topology view, those colors persist into those various connections in the topology map. So that does help there and in the interim, right? But obviously something has to be connected for that color to show up.
Yeah.
So thanks, Texpresso. Great question. Another question from user Brandon Stroop. Brandon, thanks for being here. When will switches that offer multi-gig speeds via Ethernet ports, e.g. 2.5 gigs?
All right, so yeah, that's the great thing about the S48 APOE. Let's see, 16 of the ports have 2.5 gigabits. So 32 of the ports are 1 gig on the left side, basically the first 32 ports. The next 16 are 2.5 gigabits per second. And you can see that in a management platform. When you connect, it's more of a white color, and you can see that on the other side as well, obviously. And then there's the 4 10 gigabit SFP plus ports on the right side of the switch.
That's great. Excited about those. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Brandon, for the question. Next one from user Jeff Kaiser. If you set the VLAN on a particular device and then later on move it to a different port, will those settings follow to the new port?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the settings, when you set them up, like I showed you earlier, it is just adjusting them on the port itself. So if you do change that device to a different port, it would not follow the device. It sticks to the port. So great question.
Yep, agreed. Great question, Jeff. Thank you. And thank you, Jeff. All right, next one from Felix, coming in from Canada. Thanks for being here, Felix. It's a pretty nice switch. I love it. Thanks for the feedback. I have a question about the noise dB rating on the fans. I know that on the 24-port switch, there are 2 fans on the back. How many fans does the 48-port switch have?
Great question. Yeah, so we have not received our acoustic report yet. I know that it's relatively quiet in my testing so far. I mean, we kind of control that just to make sure that it's safe and quiet enough, kind of a good balance. So, I mean, once the acoustic report is released, we can share that information. It does have 3 fans, though, so 1 more. And that's just because, it's a 740-watt switch, and there's a lot more power going on inside the box.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Felix. Newt also coming in from overseas. Thanks for being here, Newt. Excited about the S48 APOE, so are we. Can't wait to start using it in customer projects. Hardware-wise, like CPU, RAM, how does it differ from the S24 and the S16?
Yeah, great question. So they are all, obviously, like I said before, Realtek chipsets, which gives you the best bang for your buck for features versus the price. It is a 9313, an RTK 9313 that's in there. So it's going to be very similar to the chipset that's in the S24. And it does have, several layer 3 features that are available. if you know how to use the Realtek CLI. It does have twice as much RAM as the S24, so it's able to handle a little, quite a bit more data. And also, let's see, the flash is NAND actually in this switch, so that's another thing that's a little bit different. On the S24, all of our previous switches were NOR, so you might have noticed that they can take a little bit of time to upgrade. Still relatively quick, but it takes at least a minute and a half. That's the cool thing about S48. We switched to NAND, and so you'll see upgrades happen within 30 seconds, less than a minute, often. And then also this switch, the 9313, has dual core. We haven't really fully exploited it yet, but it kind of gives us some future proofing. So if we need to run some features on that second CPU, we can. Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Newt, for the question. Next question coming in from Todd Vasco. Todd, good to see your name pop up on our thread here. Single power supply, built-in or hot swap?
Let's see. So it is a single power supply, and it's integrated into the switch. So you just basically give it 110 to 220, 240 volts, and then it generates all the rails inside the box. I will mention though that we've had, obviously I have to knock on wood here. We've had very good success with our power supplies, our supply vendor. I don't know that I've heard of any switches where the power supply has failed. But I hate to say that, but yeah, I will say that we've had a very good record as far as our RMA counts, specifically with the power supply. If there are any issues on any of our switches, it's usually been something else. Like maybe a port is bad. We've had one switch where the flash was bad, but the numbers are extremely slim. So obviously, long term, we'll look into more varied types of power supplies and redundancy and stuff like that. But for now, this is what we have with our switches: a single power supply. And I think we missed L3 Haux's question with the fans.
Oh yeah, there was a comment about the he does. We'll come back to Todd's there about replacing with Nocturus ones just to make them a little more quiet.
Yeah, and for cost, obviously you can spend a ton of money on a fan. There are fans that are quite a bit more expensive that you could swap it out. Obviously, it voids your warranty and all that. That might get you even quieter. But the default fans are the kind of the best bang for your buck as far as quiet versus cost.
That's right. And also, Todd, back to this question on the hot swap side. It's certainly, to Jeff's point, it was something we want to look at when it wasn't clear on the S48 APOE. Our retail price on this in the United States is $999. So to try and hit the really aggressive price point while maintaining a massive PoE budget with some 2.5 gig ports, 10 gig uplink ports, and maintaining the sub $1,000 price point, adding a second power supply immediately would have jumped up to mid thousands, closer to 2,000. So we wanted to be able to come in and disrupt the space from a price perspective, and then also offer some incredible value on the performance and feature side. Again, without charging any licensing fees for our cloud management platform. So we will get there for sure. We understand that there are some deployments that absolutely will require hot swap or dual redundant power supplies. So anyways, more to come there, but we appreciate the question, Todd, for sure. Another question from Todd, actually. Can we look at the backside? How deep? Unfortunately, I don't have any product images that I could pull up really quick on our live event. But our marketing team is finishing up our product photography this week, actually, so we can get more on our data sheets there. We have a data sheet that is, I think we're probably safe to share that, Rob and Landon. If you want to share that, it's not done yet, but we will. There's some certifications that we are finalizing now that will be populated with our EMI rating. And then once our independent lab comes back on power consumption, everything else, those data values will be populated as well. But as far as the dimensions are concerned, it is 440 millimeters by 310 millimeters by 44 millimeters, which translates into 17.32 inches by 12.2 inches by 1.73 inches. So a little deeper than our 24 port switch, but not by a ton.
Yeah, and then I mean, if you want to look at the backside, all it has is the AC power input. It's near the middle, and that's it.
That's right. Yeah, the fans are different on this. They're a different position. They actually exchange left to right or right to left instead of front to back.
That's correct. Yep.
So thanks, Todd. Next question from Jason Smith. When it comes to all of your switches, would you say they are layer 3, layer 2, or some mix, and why?
So the S24 as well as S48 APOE are layer 3 capable switches. The S8 and the S16 are not layer 3 capable. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. It's just kind of the best bang for your buck. We usually, when you have an 8-port or a 16-port switch, you know, that's just for like a local single office installation. You don't have a lot of you know, layer 3 routing that needs to happen. But the higher the port count, especially if it's like a core switch or something that you're using in the main part of your network, a distribution switch, you would need some of those layer 3 features. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of why it's just a balance of cost versus features. And yeah, the 24 and 48 both have layer 3 capabilities in the hardware.
Yep, perfect. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Jason. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Another one from Felix. I'm totally aware that it is an enterprise branded with a lot of capacity, so I understand with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. Thanks.
Always true.
Always true.
Yeah, tip your hat to Spider-Man.
Yeah, absolutely. User SY1337, thanks for being here. All switches consistently display a medium load, yellow. I'm assuming that's in the management platform looking at the processor. And his question is that expected, or is this expected?
Yes, that is normal. I mean, all of the Alta Labs switches, because they are doing the real-time analysis of all the ports, typically the load is 20 to 30%. We do plan on, I mean, we will make that color coding a little bit different so that the 23 or 30% isn't quite so yellow and more white or black or whatever. But yeah, so there's no reason to be alarmed. And honestly, switch hardware is typically, so that the CPU manages obviously the switch chip itself, but you can really consider them two different systems. So you have your switch CPU, which is running Linux, which you know, has the management software that connects to the cloud and all that. And then you have your actual switch fabric chip. And you know, those are embedded into the same chipset in this case. But there are cases, you know, as you get into bigger and bigger switches where you have actually a separate CPU and you have a separate switch fabric chip, and the switch CPU just controls things. And so you may see, you know, 20 to 30% load, but that doesn't mean that you're going to see any drop in performance. The switch fabric itself is fully 100% hardware accelerated. It's purely based on, you know, the packets that are coming in, the packets that are going out, and you can look at the data sheet, the packets per second, the megabits per second. Those are the metrics that will be available to the switch fabric, regardless of what's going on the CPU. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, great response. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks, user SY1337. Another question from Todd. Is there a console port on the back?
No, we don't offer a console port on any of the Alta Labs switches. We've focused on, you know, mainstream use case of just managing it with within the controller. So whether that's the local controller or the cloud controller, you do have to have that available.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Todd. Another question from Newt. Quick question about the Route 10. Do you think VRRP or CARP CARP is a long way off from being launched?
I mean, a long way. Still hoping to hoping to release that by the end of the year. It'll probably be VRRP, not necessarily CARP, but yeah, it's definitely something that we are considering right now, and you know, may actually start working on here real soon.
Great. Thanks, Newt, for the question. Thanks, Jeff. Let's see. Doug, thanks for the compliment. Love to hear the support on the feature set. The follow-up from Texpresso. It's for the color coding on VLANs. It's more my CD switch ports to blue. What did I set on blue?
Yeah, and I can share my screen real quick again. Let me do that. Landon or Rob, can you switch to my screen again? All right, so I showed here on the S48 APOE, you can see that all of these ports are black. It's basically this little icon in the upper right of each switch port. You can see that these ports are black, and you can very easily switch them to a different color by selecting a whole bunch of different ports at once. Let's see if we have any other switches. Looks like all the ports are black in this specific site. But yeah, that's how you do it, is by looking at the switch, its window, and you can see what color each port is right here.
And then, yeah, no, sorry, Jeff, I mean to interrupt you. As far as being able to see what's on the blue color, like in the user interface, like the APs have a summary on the dashboard. Do we have a plan to bring that into some sort of visual representation, like on a dashboard form?
Yeah. I mean, we've had that a couple times. We do want to add the color, so you wouldn't be able to see what ports are assigned, each color, but just a general idea of what colors are on the switch. So with the APs, obviously, it's very easy to see what SSIDs are on there and what colors are assigned to the AP. But we do want to add the ability to see the colors that are on each switch as well from a holistic view here.
Perfect. Yep. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks, Texpresso, for the follow-up there. Our good friend Se Young coming in from Singapore. Thanks for being here. It is late where you are. So thanks for being here live. It was good to see you in Singapore a couple weeks ago too. Let's see, dimensions on the depth of the switch. We did just share those in the feed on Facebook. Looks like YouTube's got it as well, the data sheets there. And again, please keep in mind that link is dynamic, right? The link will stay, but the content behind that link will be updated as we finalize certifications, and our third-party labs will give us the additional information that will be required for, FCC certs, power consumption. Jeff mentioned the third-party, fan noise reports. Those will all come back and be populated into that data sheet. So thanks for the question, Say. Next question from Kobe Corbett. Thanks for being here, Kobe. Is there a recommended SFP to use with Alta products in general?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question. We don't necessarily, obviously, we don't offer our own branded SFP modules. We have, done a bunch of research to be able to do that, but haven't found the right vendor, haven't found the right way to do that yet. So at some point, I'll be able to say Alta Labs branded, but right now, I mean, there aren't any particular brands that we, tell anyone to shy away from. Usually it's plug and play, but if there's a particular, model or brand that you've had issues with, we'd love to hear about it so that we can take a look and see if it's, any issues on our side.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Kobe. Good question. All right. Just a few more left. As a reminder, if you have not had your question answered, please make sure you submit it through whatever social platform you are viewing us from. We'll try and get those answered. And again, if you just didn't get a chance to get your question answered or submitted, feel free to fire an email off to sales@alta.inc. Next question. Actually, this is more of a comment. I want to use this opportunity to plug the NFR Kit. Brandon, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a new adopter of Alta Labs. If you have not yet had a chance to try Alta Labs and want to get your hands on some heavily discounted gear because you are a professional installer, we have an application process. If you go to alta.inc/NFR and marketing team, thank you very much, Rob. Be it for Johnny on the spot. You are the man. If you click into that link, fill out some information. Our sales team, generally same day, next business day, we'll get back in touch with you, talk to you for just a second, and then open up some very special, highly discounted pricing for just a few units. That's a limit one per company. So you get a chance to get Alta product in your hands. So you get a feel for everything that makes Alta Labs great, right? And generally what we found is anybody who's tried an NFR kit and given us a shot, they become an Alta Labs fan for life. So Brandon, thanks for mentioning that. And thanks for giving me an opportunity to plug the NFR kit. Next question from user DN. Any plans to update the SPOE to 2.5 gigabit or higher or another small, faster switch to sit alongside it in your product portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something we've been researching for the last little while. Don't have any concrete plans yet, but yeah, we want to do something that has, 2.5 gig, 5 to 8 ports, hopefully powered by PoE potentially for those cases where that makes sense. and obviously very small form factors. So we're looking into it, but yeah, nothing to announce yet.
Yep, definitely looking into it very heavily. So excited to see what comes, what we got in store. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, user DN. Felix, again, thanks for the mention regarding rack studs. That is we've seen a lot of positive feedback on that front. If you are an installer that uses racks that require cage nuts, you will fall in love with rack studs if you haven't already tried them. That's one of the reasons we wanted to throw them in our switches. Number one, to stand out. Number two, they install so much faster than your standard cage nuts.
Yeah.
I basically try to convert to using them on all of my racks if I'm using a cage nut rack style. So those persist in the S48. Those are included for free with the cost of, or the purchase of your 48 port switch. So,
yep.
Thanks for mentioning that, Felix. Let's see. That's coming into looks like our last question, Todd. Thanks for the comment. $1,000 for 48 port PoE Plus switch. That's a very stout offering. We are very excited to see it hit the market. We've seen a lot of excitement about that. A lot of guys waiting to jump on the Alta train for an 848 port switch. So we're excited this will be coming out in July. And we got Cole here. Thanks for the plug here, bud. Cole is on the Alta team. Actually, I had one of our new tech support team members bring this to our office. I'm going to use this as kind of a shameless plug for those that have been waiting for our rack mount accessory for our Route 10 and our 8-port switch. This is coming hard and fast. So our plan is to have this available in channel at the very end of July. I know everyone's asked, when's it going to be? When's it going to be? And we've been saying July, right? We wanted to get this in and make sure this was exactly what we want it to be. And so far it is. We're making a couple of just minor modifications, but we'll be doing that through production. One thing I'll show is this is the assembly we've decided on. We've got a really nice, hand tightened nut here that allows you to loosen these up, back these out. These are interchangeable, right? You can move the Route 10 over here. You can go 2 Route 10s. You can do two 8-port switches. We're very excited about this guy and getting this into production and out for projects. So
I love the toolless.
Do love the toolless every chance we get. Obviously, these will work with rack studs. This will be something at launch that does not include rack studs, but we're working on getting that incorporated in. So more to come there. But we're trying to get this to market as fast as possible. We know we have a lot of projects that are waiting for this, so it's coming. All right. I think that is it. Let me just quickly look. I think we've caught up on all of our questions. Jeff, anything else you want to touch on for the 48 port switch?
I don't think so. I mean, this has definitely been one of our missing cards, right? The 48 port switch. A lot of projects that have been able to, we haven't been able to swing because this has been missing. And so, we're really excited about offering this. Hopefully, it unlocks a lot of new projects for all of you Alta Labs fans out there.
Absolutely. And we just had a couple more questions sneak in, Jeff. We'll use the opportunity to jump that since we've got a couple minutes left here. Ray, good to see you here. Thanks for being on the live stream event. One of the guys in the community asked about LACP on the SFP plus boards. Is that something?
Yeah, LACP is supported on every single port, STP and LACP. All the letters are on every port.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Ray, for jumping in. Another question from our good friend Mike Rollins. Thanks for being here. 755 Off-Road and Recovery coming in from Murray, Utah. Is the 48 port full PoE? The answer to that is yes.
Yes, it is.
And then another question from Newt. Last one for me. Notice an SFP switch in your video by the SVT site rack. Any specs or release dates you can share? That's the S12. Yeah,
so the S12 is also coming in about another month. I think is it August? I'm trying to remember, but that's also coming very, very soon.
Yep.
We're doing production testing in our own network, and it's working like a charm.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be end of August at this point. We made some changes. We've queried some of our community to talk a little bit about SFP plus RJ45 modules. We were kind of going down a path and for limiting the number of units that we would support in the S12, and we've pivoted to supporting 10 out of 12 ports for the SFP style, or excuse me, RJ45 SFP style module. So that has introduced a small delay, right, as we approach the end of July, August timeframe. So we'll just be at the end of August. So that's another very exciting SKU, and we do have one in one of our beta sites. So we're we're running on that for about 2 weeks now. It's been rock solid. And thanks, Newt, for that question. Let's see, a couple more questions coming in. I love it. Thanks for jumping in, guys, and getting these in. Next question from Kevin Honan. Can you make the site manager page the default page for logging in to the Alta site?
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard that request before, but definitely something we can consider. Obviously, if we did that, it wouldn't be a global change for everybody, but maybe on a per user basis, if you want that to be your default, it makes a lot of sense because you can, there's a lot of information there that's very useful. Is everything up to date? Is everything connected? So yeah, great idea. We'll definitely consider it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Kevin. Another question from Angel Fernandez. Are there plans to support stacking on the 28 or 24 and 48 port switch?
Yeah, so yeah, it supports stacking in the terms of it's very easy to manage a whole bunch of switches from one interface. You can also do LECP between different switches for redundancy in case a port or a transceiver goes down or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's already supported with our current feature set at launch.
Absolutely. Thanks, Angel. Thanks, Jeff. Let's see. User D, another question. No heat issues with that many RJ45 modules. That's a really good question. That's one of the reasons that we've pushed the S12 back just a little bit, is we've been adding some thermal solutions to it to support that many modules. One thing that's probably worth mentioning here is there are not all RJ45 modules are made equal, right? There are some manufacturers that produce, a 2-watt module and others that produce a low wattage module, both in a 1 gig and a 10 gig form factor. Obviously 2 watts is going to produce quite a bit more heat than a lower power module.
There's even more than 2.5, 3.
Right.
I mean, so we generally try to encourage everyone to use 2 watts or less.
Right. Definitely would improve the thermal footprint inside of the S12. The S12, even though it's small, will have, I think we got 2 fans in that to try and to help with that. So yeah, we're testing with both high wattage and low wattage modules. But yeah, we would suggest definitely use the lower wattage modules wherever you can. And they are pretty common. They're pretty easy to get your hands on, actually, just as easy as the high wattage modules. So
yeah, there's a little bit of a premium typically, but it's on the order of 5%, pretty low.
Yep. So thanks, Dean. Good question. Good question there for sure. Another question from Brandon Stroop. Are there any plans for a network bridge?
Yeah, so I'm guessing you're thinking point-to-point wireless, fixed wireless. We do have plans, nothing concrete necessarily, but yeah, just stay tuned. We are definitely investigating that.
Yep, for sure. All right, thanks, Brandon. And then one last question for Mike. Are there any plans to release 5-port switch with PoE? That's kind of in that line of 2.5 gig switches. Are we smaller port counts? Will some of them have SFP? We also are looking at some PoE powered switches, right? We know that there's a lot of edge cases, corner cases where you need to, you don't have a power outlet, but you need a switch, right? Potentially even something with PoE pass through. So those are all on the table for us right now as we look at adding to our line for sure. Another good question, user. Whoa, they're coming in quick. I was not able to hit the show button. There we go. User SY1337. Any news about Route 10 firmware? It's almost been 3 months since the last update was released.
Yeah, great question. We've been working heavily on, probably mostly the S48 the last couple months, but Route 10 has been a priority as well. The thing is, DPI was initially implemented, and then we've just been working on making it stable. So it's not quite to the point where we feel that we can release. Our bar is pretty high as far as stability and reliability. And so we're still, I believe, hopefully, we have a final release candidate that we can push out and actually launch DPI. over the last couple of days, we've figured some issues out with stability. So yeah, we don't want to launch it until it's like, totally solid for any size of network to be able to run with. And yeah, that's kind of the update. So hopefully here soon, we'll have some good news and make another release. We've been doing some other features that we can do with the back end and front end on Route 10 that don't necessarily require a firmware update. But you're right. I mean, it has been a while as far as an actual firmware release for Route 10.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Jeff, for the update on Route 10 firmware. And thanks, user SY1337. I've got to figure out what that means. It's got to be some sort of significant there.
I think it's usually it's, you telnet to port 31337. So yeah. Gotta be.
Yeah, thanks for the question. All right. Michael, thanks for being here. It's good to see you. Appreciate you being a part of the Alta Labs community now. I know you got some YouTube content you've been creating as well, and we're excited to see that drop with Alta Labs. I think you said it's going to be sometime in the summertime. So please make sure Landon and our team know about it. We'll make sure that gets echoed out through our community. Yep. Mike, back on the smaller form factor switches, small cabinets. Absolutely. We see that time and time again. Todd as well. I like to use 5-port PoE outdoor switches as security aggregation point. We see the same thing, especially as we on board our point-to-point solution. Having something like that would be very important. Thanks, Mike. 1337 Elite.
Yeah, it's short for 31337.
Got it. Let's see. One last question so far from Jason Patton. Thanks for being here, Jason. Any updates coming soon where we can change or add custom icons to our devices?
We have not made that available yet. We haven't got a ton of requests, but I'll definitely make sure that gets discussed. So yeah, nothing concrete I can share right now.
Great. Yeah, thanks for the question there, Jason. You can change within the canned library we have there, but yeah, adding your own icons. That's interesting. I'd love the feedback. Haven't had that before. Anxious to see what we can do there. Okay, we're caught up again. I think if there's any other questions, Jeff, anything else you want to mention at this point?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, wonderful. Well, on behalf of the entire Alta Labs team, thank you for everyone for taking time out of your busy day or evening in some scenarios or middle of the night for being here, learning more about our S48 port switch and getting your questions answered regarding Alta Labs. We're excited about what we've done. We're excited about what we're doing and what's in the future. A lot of good things happening. So we'd love any feedback you have regarding any of our products, both existing, current, and in the future. Our forum is our great place to come and submit that and engage with us. You can jump into forum.alta.inc. And also our S12, as I mentioned, will be our very next Alta Labs live event. So watch your newsletters, watch your social posts, and our forum. We'll be announcing the time and the date for that next Alta Labs live. Without further ado, thank you very much for all being here again. Have a wonderful rest of your June, and we'll see you again in July.
Thank you so much.